Well, this is my second shot at this morning. I had a problem. I don't know what the problem was, but the video just seemed to stop and disappear. So anyhow, my hair's all messed up, but that's, at least I have hair. You know, there are people out there that don't have any hair. People say, "Do you worry about gray hair?" I was told by a female barber, actually got one of the best haircuts I ever had from her, and I said, "I got a couple of gray hairs in there." She says, "Don't worry about them." She says, "They don't fall out. It's the rest of the stuff you got to worry about falling out." I said, "Well, that was cool, and I tell my friends that have gray hair, that's the truth. If your hair turns gray, it's not going to fall out. You know. So don't worry about it, unless you're sick or something, biological takes place. But under normal conditions, it's not going anywhere, I don't know whether you can see my beard because of the glare I have again. I have trouble with that glare thing, I don't know, maybe if I turn this a little bit this way, a little better. All right. Anyhow, I was talking about the transfer of power where Biden has said that was asked a question. I don't know what channel it was on. I just saw the video on YouTube. Said, "Do you think that if Donald Trump loses, there will be a peaceful transition of power? That he'll, just..." Or do you see a repeat of January 6th? He says he sees something worse than January 6th. He says Trump is not going to go away peacefully. We know that. Didn't go into what they're going to do to try to prevent that. But you see interviews. They had a Trump follower in a video right next door to that one. Being interviewed, she said, "What do you think's going to happen?" I said, "Civil war." She says, "Civil war." Well, she's a fat white lady that ain't going to civil war, trust me. She's going to be sitting in her house watching it on TV. Civil war, if you're dedicated enough to want to die for something, then you can see a civil war. And the thing about that is you're going to watch people don't know what it's like to see the person standing next to you shot, his head blown off. What is that's a cause of PTSD. I think that's right. It's called a survivor's guilt. It's like if you're in a foxhole, and I've talked to people. I've never in a foxhole. I've never fired at in combat. I've been shot at hunting. Come close a couple of times. I got shot with a BB when I was driving down the road in East Orange one time. But actually it was Orange. But they're right next to each other, so it's, you never know when you cross from one to the other those days. But survival's guilt will drive people insane. Now, the people that are talking about this from the Trump side, which seems to be the side that's talking more about violence, if it doesn't go their way, they're going to cheat. They believe it. They believe everything. They believe that the Democrats are cheating. There's been no evidence of that. The Republicans can't produce any evidence that Trump lost the election dishonestly. He lost it because he's an idiot, and he's going to lose it. If he loses this time, which I hope he will prove once again that he's an idiot. He doesn't know anything what the people want. He goes out and says, well, he'll go to somebody like, I don't know the names of the real big Republican donors and whatnot. I probably should learn that stuff. But anyhow, he says he'll go to one of them and say, "Listen, what do you want to do?" He says, "Well, let's get a big tax break in here, and you can figure it out yourself. Whatever you want for yourself too. Which is one of the interviews I saw. He said something like that, that he thinks because he's made a lot of money, he should be able to influence the tax breaks. He should have all his money taken and refunded to people he screwed. You know, and the little old lady on a street in Atlantic City, their house was taken from her to build a parking lot to, you know, whoever he's screwed up down along the way. I mean, you just give him money, you know, pay them back what he stole from them. That's what they should do with Trump's money. Not fine him, because fine him just makes the government richer. You know, the government. What they do with that money is, I don't know. Not just his fines, but anybody's fines. I'm not sure what they do with that money. It's like parking ticket money. You know, there's a lot of money that comes in from that. You know, in various cities, especially a city like New York or something like that. You know, how does that work? You know, does it cost so much to collect the tickets that there's nothing left over afterwards? I have no idea. But anyhow, I digress, which I have a tendency to do. But the fear of civil war may stop some people from voting. And that could be a bad thing for one side or the other. We don't know which side yet. But I have several friends out there. They know who they are, male and female, more female than male. They say things about Trump that they don't like him and they're worried about him. But other than comments on or contributions to a political party or a comment or two on YouTube, I don't see, or Facebook, I don't see them actually doing anything to help support their various candidates that they'd like to see in office. I get the feeling that they think they're all the same, you know. Not exactly that. Not exactly true. I don't know if every Republican is as dead set against democracy as Trump and the upper echelon of the Republican Party are. But I believe the Republican Party is basically stupid. And so they're either stupid or they're tired of democracy, something like that. Because to go up against Donald and support everything he says, it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, it's not a. I don't know where they. I read psychologists saying that, you know, if these people will believe it, this type of personality will believe anything they said to them. But if there's that much legal proof out there that the election wasn't stolen, you know, it was he won, that Biden won fair and square. Why don't anybody doesn't anybody in the mega Republican Party believe that? You know, I mean, some of them are so belligerent about it, you know, that I just want to reach through my computer screen, choke them, you know, because they're so stupid, and they're going to cause so much destruction and so much harm, you know. And I hope I'm wrong, and I don't know whether I'm going to be around next year or not. I have no idea. You know, I have no control over what happens to my body. But we'll see. Okay. The other thing I was talking about is that when you hear Trump talk or you hear his Vance talk, it's if they can't find the truth, they make up these spectacular lies with, or they distort the actual truth so bad that it turns into a lie. You've got Vance is sitting there talking about Walsh's military record. Well, he was in National Guard. National Guard is not really I was in it for 6 years. I mean, if you go to combat, you want to transfer to a regular Army unit. You know, those guys weren't properly trained when I was in it. You know, fortunately for me, I had some people teaching me stuff, you know, outside of the military, so that I could handle myself better. But and then I ended up in a mechanic unit, made up of mechanics and stuff like that. So I didn't, wasn't too concerned about that till the Newark riots. And then they started training us afterwards, and I said, "This is pure bullshit. This isn't the way it's going to work." You saw this with so-called riot-trained troops during the riots. Especially a place called Kent State. These guys aren't going to. You can't expect guys to stand there, people throwing rocks at you, whether you got a plastic shield in front of you or not. That's you're not going to stand around and let that happen. There's discipline factors that are involved, especially in the National Guard, where guys are only doing this 1 weekend a month, basically, and 2 weeks in the summer. They're not doing it every day, although I believe Waltz was doing it on a daily basis in his own state because he was a ranking officer. So he got out, big deal. And then his unit got sent to Italy. And eventually they got sent to Afghanistan or Iraq, one of those places. I forget which one it was. So what? Everybody in every unit knew this could happen to them. This wasn't something that, you didn't have the internet to give you back when I was in, you didn't have the internet to give you the advance notice of this stuff, so you kind of like, talked to each other, read the newspapers or whatnot, and there wasn't a lot of garbage about you guys who's going to get sent over, when and where, that was all. But then there were the guys that, when the draft came up, and it was their turn to be drafted, there were guys that had the money and the ability to pay to keep themselves out of it, kept themselves out of it. Now, I don't blame them for doing that. If I had the opportunity, I probably would have done the same thing. And then my deal was the Vietnam War. Now, not after the attack on New York City, I wasn't involved in that. I was involved in after the Vietnam War, which, according to most experts, was a war that we couldn't win. I don't know what we were fighting it for, other than for the opportunity for people to make money. Both politicians and business people made tons of money out of that. A lot of people got rich from that war. A lot of people died in that war, and a lot of people came out screwed up. Excuse me again. A lot of people came screwed up in that war. That's, But getting back to Vance's statements, that, if you can't argue the truth, I have to go look up and see I told you yesterday I had to go, and I didn't get an opportunity to do that because I was watching the Olympics. That's one thing about doing these videos, and I try to, I'm not in a country where this is daily news, I have to go searching for stories. So I guess it doesn't affect me quite to the same degree, although I know it can affect me very, very badly if they do what they claim they're going to do. So, but it's getting closer, One thing I can tell you, if you're passionate about democracy and the freedoms that you have, vote. And then not only vote, but make sure your vote's being counted. Make sure that they're not stealing the vote from you, which is what they accused everybody of doing. The megas accused everybody, but now, from what I'm reading on major newsworks and these Occupy Democrats and Midas Touch and all these other video, I don't know what the word you call them, but anyhow, these people are doing these things to disrupt our election and our voting and whatnot, which is what they were accusing everybody of doing the last time. So, vote. Make sure your vote is counted. Make sure your vote is being reported honestly. And if it's not, well, then you might have to fight for your rights. I couldn't fight. If I could get up there, I couldn't fight. I can barely walk, you know. So, but I can't see anymore, you know. I've got old eyes, so I couldn't be a sniper. I couldn't be a foot soldier. So, you know, I could probably drive a tank. Because if you make a mistake there, you just run over it. Well, anyhow, 15-minute mark, you know, you can see I'm starting to fade. So I'm smart enough to know that. Too bad some politicians aren't smart enough to know that. Anyhow, I'll see you tomorrow.